We're back with Rat City Roller Derby up against the Faultline Derby Devilz. There's the 5-second call. And on the line for Rat City, Ruth Bouter Ginsberg. And for Faultline, Slick Mick. And it's going to be Ruth with lead jam. Rat City's getting the first lead jam of the game. And our first penalty of the day. That's a penalty assessed to Rat City number 3. That was a forearm. And there's the call-off. That was Master Bouter receiving that forearm call. Four-point jam for Rat City, and Faultline is able to add 2 points to the scoreboard. Next jam, number 1964, Ponyboi Hurtis up against number 666, Piercer. And it's Ponyboi up front. That's lead jam. No, it's not going to be lead jam for Ponyboi. Ponyboi is actually going to go to the box. It's a track cut. Rat City now down 2 skaters with Master Bouter still serving that forearm, but not for much longer. And Ponyboi for that track cut. That's a power jam for Faultline Derby Devilz. And Master Bouter is going to get sent right back to the penalty box for a direction call. Minute 10 remaining here in this jam. Piercer still has not gotten their the initial pass, and I did see that star come off the head. They've now made it through, but that does mean that they will continue to go throughout the remainder of this jam, the remaining 40 seconds, with Ponyboi Hurtis now back on the track. Back coming back around into straightaway 1 and turn number 3. And here's Ponyboi. Ponyboi makes it through. 4 points now on the scoreboard thanks to Ponyboi. And now Velvet Hammer from Rat City sent to the penalty box. That's an illegal position call. Despite that, Ponyboi can make it around again. 8 points now on the scoreboard thanks to Ponyboi. And there's the end of that jam. Here's a shout bout. Presumably for Ponyboi. Nay, nay, Ponebone. Skate hard, have fun. Keep smiling. Love broccoli. Broccoli, of course, as we are all aware, spelled BROCCOLEIGH. And another bout shout. Happy birthday, Ponyboi Hurtis. We love you. So big HBD to Ponyboi Hurtis. Brings us to the end of that brief official timeout. Stabby Cat jamming for Rat City, and it's Maddy Massacre for Faultline. We've seen great performance from Maddy Massacre so far in this tournament, and it looks like Maddy will keep that performance going. Lead jam for Maddy Massacre. Stabby Cat is not far behind. Maddy's through and calls off the jam. But it does not look like Maddy Massacre was able to earn the full 4 there. Just 3 points added to the scoreboard for Faultline. But Faultline is closing that early lead that Rat City took. There's the 5-second call for Rat City. It's number 8, Roczilla. And for Faultline, number 916, Slick Mick. Roczilla trying for the outside, but it's going to be Slick Mick who finds an opening on the in. Lead jam for Faultline. Roczilla now makes it through. Here comes Slick Mick on the inside. Slick moves for Slick Mick. There's the full 4 and the call off. Up next for Rat City roller derby, Ruth beats her Ginsberg. And for Faultline, number 666, Piercer. You can see Ruth has made it through, though. Ruth, of course, wearing her namesake ruffles as they get dumped to the outside with a strong hit from Lez B Honest of Faultline. But Ruth, just like her namesake, is undeterred and makes it through, collecting 4 points on the way. There's the call off. Eight points for Rat City. Rat City down a skater. Their pivot Malice in the box. That's number 4-7 serving for a direction call. But that'll bring us into our next jam with Ponyboi Hurtis and Maddy Massacre. Ponyboi getting cycled back and Maddy Massacre up front. Lead jam for Maddy Massacre. Ponyboi looking for an opening, finds it. But unfortunately, that was a forearm penalty for Ponyboi. Maddy Massacre trying to find an opening on the outside. And calls it off, perhaps unaware that Ponyboi Hurtis is in the box now. That'll mean it's a power start for Slick Mick of Faultline. There's the whistle. Here comes Slick Mick on the outside, getting dumped into the outfield and cycled back behind the jam line all the way to turn 4. Now turn 3. Slick Mick asking for some help from the pack. Not quite getting what they want, it looks like. Now they're getting recycled back to the straightaway. Slick Mick is on the track, taking advantage of that outside, twisting their ankle on the out before receiving a multiplayer penalty. Ponyboi now back from the box. It appears we will be going the remaining 1 minute 22 seconds in this jam, but that may not be true because Ponyboi has just been assessed lead jammer, which means they can call it off whenever they like. Ponyboi Hurtis taking a hit to the infield and Looks like tweaking their neck just a little bit, but they're able to get right back up and call off the jam. Certainly not a fun hit to take, as if any hit is fun to take. Sasha Degrader in the penalty box now for a forearm. But the line, we see Piercer up against Maiden China. It's going to be Maiden China with lead jam and a power jam at that. Piercer is sent to the penalty box for a track cut. And some slick moves there from Maiden China. 4 more points added to the scoreboard. Rat City opening up that lead. Now a 20-point game here in the first half of jam of the 8th jam. First half of the bout in our 8th jam. There's a no pack call, which allows Maiden China to get through. There's the star pass there. Sasha Degrader, the pivot for Faultline, briefly wearing the star. For Rat City calls it off. It's Stabby Cat at the jam line for Rat City. And Maddy Massacre for Faultline. Multiplayer call there for number 70, Daaamn Gina of Faultline. And lead jam is finally assessed to Maddy Massacre. Stabby Cat is not far behind, so I suspect we'll see a little bit of action here as both jammers reach the back of the pack. Apex jump there. Does not look like it was successful. Well, perhaps it was mildly successful. That's 1 point added to Faultline's total, bringing their score up to 16. The 5-second call, Ruth Bouter Ginsberg at the line next to Slick Mick. Here they go. It's Ruth up front. Can Ruth get lead jam? I think they just might. Oh no, they've taken a little bit of a stumble there. Here comes Slick Mick now. Almost caught up with Ruth Bouter, and Ruth Bouter's out ahead. Lead jam for Rat City. Ruth Bouter Ginsberg tries for the inside, gets cycled back. Meanwhile, Slick Mick with star in hand is getting cycled back on the out. Ruth is able to make it through, and Slick Mick is as well. Star now on Slick Mick's helmet. And here's the call off. That's 6 points for Rat City. That brings us into our next matchup. Ponyboi Hurtis and Lez B Honest. And it's Ponyboi. Ponyboi makes it through with Lez B Honest not far behind. Trip 2 now for both of our jammers. Our pack is skating. Nice hit there from Sasha Degrader, which prevents a legal pass by Ponyboi Hurtis, making that a 0-point jam for both teams. Five-second call. It's Stabby Cat and Maddy Massacre at the line. Dynamic start as the pack moves from the jam line to the pivot line. Stabby Cat up ahead. Maddy Massacre just now at the pivot line working on a really nice tripod. Oh no, here comes Stabby Cat. Cycled way back now behind Maddy Massacre. Maddy Massacre preventing any forward progress by Stabby Cat, but gets dumped to the outside in the process. And it's going to be Stabby Cat lead jam for Rat City. Maddy Massacre now star in hand, cycled back to behind the jam line as Stabby Cat makes it through. That looks like it'll be the full four. And yes, indeed it is. Maddy Massacre once again cycled back behind the jam line as Stabby Cat is now at the back of the pack, finds an opening and makes it through untouched. It looks like there was a star pass there as number 1-5 Ice Rocker from Faultline now holding the star and donning it. Stabby Cat back at the pack. Nice strategic move there as Stabby Cat spins around 180 with her back traveling in the direction of travel. Getting her hips just in front of the opposing blocker and calling off the jam just to add that extra point to the scoreboard and widen the lead by Rat City. 11-point jam there. We're now in a team timeout for Faultline Derby Devils. Brings an end to that timeout. Thank you so much to FitAid. FitAid Hydrate replenish the sodium, potassium, and magnesium, providing over 200% more magnesium and potassium than leading competitors. It's available in single-serve stick packs, watermelon wave, and pink Himalayan lemonade. That's pink Himalayan lemonade. Easy for me to say. That brings us into jam number 13 with Roczilla and Slick Mick. Starting with a little jammer on jammer as they get cycled back. And it's going to be Roczilla who gets through lead jam for Rat City. Slick Mick not far behind, who falls to their knees on the second straightaway and gets cycled back to turn number 1. Roczilla now has made it back shoulder to shoulder with Slick Mick. But unlike Slick Mick, will be scoring some points on this pass. Slick Mick now through. Expecting to see a call here, and there it is. The call from Roczilla ending the jam. Three points there for Rat City. Up next is Ponyboi Hurtis and Lez B Honest. It's going to be Lez B Honest who gets lead jam. Lez B Honest now coming to the back of the pack, and Ponyboi is as well. Let's Be Honest is able to make it through, and the quick call-off. 5-second call. Rat City down a skater as Master Bouter standing in the penalty box, serving a legal position. It's going to be Ruth Bader, or rather Ruth Beater Ginsberg, up against Maddy Massacre, and Ruth's going to have it. That's lead jam for Rat City. Maddy Massacre working on their last two skaters, and they are now through. Ruth makes it through trip number 2 before Maddy's able to start trip number 2. A little shimmy from Ruth as they call off the jam. Rat City leading 66 to Faultline's 20. 11 and a half minutes remaining in the first half, bringing us into jam number 16 with Stabby Cat and Slick Mick. Both jammers taking either side of the track, but it's going to be Slick Mick who comes out on top. Lead jam for Faultline Derby Devilz. Slick Mick is back now for some points. Just as Stabby Cat makes their way through the pack the first time, Slick is able to make it through. Looks like we're going to see a little bit of jammer on jammer here. Slick Mick briefly considering the upcoming trip, but decides to call it off, ending that jam. Now we have Maiden China and Lez B Honest behind the line. There's the whistle. Maiden China's gained position with Lez B Honest behind. However, Maiden China is working on that tripod. Is that going to give Lez B Honest a chance to take that lead jam status away? We will have to wait and find out. In fact, it is looking really good for Lez B Honest, but here comes Maiden China. I'm able to take the outside track. And we are now in a power jam as Lez B Honest is sent to the box for a high block. Maiden China is looking for an opening, but Sasha Degrader is impeding any progress. Shabam doing the same, able to knock Maiden China to the outside and cycle them back. We have a bipod of Shabam and Sasha Degrader, who was unable to keep Maiden China at bay, but is able to buy enough time for Lez B Honest to return to the track. 45 seconds remaining in this jam. Maiden China is still the lead. And there's a forearm call for Sasha Degrader. Sasha Degrader is going to start this next jam in the box. It's a 50-point jam with Rat City leading. There's the 5-second call preceding jam number 18 with Ponyboi Hurtis and Maddy Massacre. There's a forearm call there for Velvet Hammer. Despite being down a skater, Ponyboi Hurtis is able to make it through. Here comes Maddy, though. And Ponyboi makes it through, adding 4 points to the scoreboard for Rat City. The pack is now skating giving Ponyboi a chance to catch up to Maddy Massacre, and there is the call-off. Rat City is able to successfully burn a little bit of time off of Velvet Hammer's forearm penalty. We can now see Velvet is standing in the box, which means their return to the track is imminent. Here's an official timeout for you. Officials are convening over at the scoreboard table. Thank you so much to IQ Bar. IQ Bar brings you delicious plant-based bars designed to fuel both your brain and body. Each bar is packed with protein, fiber, and brain nutrients to keep you energized. Those brain nutrients keep you energized, focused, and they keep you full longer without the sugar crash. Clean ingredients, smart nutrition, and crave-worthy flavors. That's the IQ Bar difference. Hashtag IQ Bar. At the jam line, Roczilla and Slick Mick. And there's a high block there for Slick Mick, which means we are in a power jam for Rat City. Rat City now back at full force. Slick Mick in the penalty box, but smiling, which I can't help but think that means Faultline is feeling confident with where they are. Roczilla is through, working on trip number 3. And trip number 3 is successful. That's the full 4 for Roczilla. 30 seconds has elapsed, so Slick Mick is back on the track and has made their initial pass. Coming up to the back of the pack with Roczilla. There's the call-off. Don't believe that's the full 4. And in fact, that's 2 additional points. 2 additional points for Rat City and 2 initial points for Faultline Derby Devilz. Next, we have Ruth beat her Ginsberg and Maddy Massacre. Nice whip there. The assist coming from Maddy Massacre's blocker. I believe that was Sasha Degrader, which is able to give Maddy Massacre lead jam status. Maddy's now back at the back of the pack and now through. That's 4 points on the scoreboard for Faultline Derby Devilz. And we are now in a power jam for Faultline as Ruth beat her Ginsberg is sent to the box. Apex jump there from Maddy Massacre. Ruth serving a penalty for a forearm, so that's 30 seconds we will see without Rat City Roller Derby's jammer. But it looks like Faultline's pivot, Lez B Honest, is sent to the box for direction, and Sasha Degrader from Faultline Derby Devilz sent to the box for a direction as well. That's the end of that jam. Ruth beat her Ginsberg. In the box, the jammer for Rat City in Jam 21. Slick Mick is starting 10 feet back and slowly creeping up to the jam line. There's the start whistle. Immediate juke to the right as Slick Mick runs into the wall on the outside track. Another nice whip there from Ninja. And Slick Mick is almost able to make it through. And yes, indeed, Slick Mick is through. Lead jam for Faultline. Slick Mick on that second straightaway, tiptoeing against the line and makes it through. Jam on as Ruth beat her. Ginsberg is back with a vengeance. Lots of action there on the second straightaway as Blaze of Glory is standing in the penalty box after serving an illegal position. That ends that last jam, and it looks like Ruth is going to be playing another jam here. They're in the box now for track cuts. Sitting next to Blaze of Glory, who is now returning to the track. On the jam line for Faultline, it's Maddy Massacre. Maddy's able to find an opening and gets through. That's lead jam for Faultline Derby Devilz. Ice Rocker from Faultline sent to the box for a direction call as Maddy Massacre makes it around again. Trip number 3 starting here for Maddy. Takes the outside again and scoots on by, making it an 8-point jam. Here comes Ruth Beater Ginsberg on the inside track. Nice fancy footwork there, able to get through that apex without a hop. And then the outside is able to make it through. There's the initial pass for Ruth. Point jam there for Faultline. They're able to hold Rat City scoreless. And up next, we have Maiden China and Slick Mick. Looks like we lost a toe stop on the track there as Maiden China is able to make it through. Hopefully that toe stop can get back to its owner as Maiden China comes around through the straightaway number 1 into turn 1. Shaky she's shaky and she's getting back to her feet. And it looks like that's Maiden China's toe stop. She's missing her toe stop on her left skate, her foot cover on her left skate flapping in the breeze. Thankfully, that story has the conclusion we were all hoping for. Maiden China calls off the jam and toe stop is hopefully returned to Maiden China's left foot. Can it be reattached? We will have to wait and find out. Official timeout has been called before we could start jam number 24. Thank you so much to Moxie Barbell. This official timeout is powered by Moxie Barbell, online strength, nutrition, and health behavior change coaching that's unique to you. Check out at Moxie Barbell on Instagram or moxiebarbell.com to learn more. Ponyboi Hurtis at the jam line for Rat City. I believe that rolling whistle may signal the start of halftime. team benches, which have now swapped places, which is the norm for roller derby. And it does appear Maiden China has managed to successfully repair their left skate. We are now back to full stopping capacity with all our toe stops. Score updated. Rat City leads 91 to Faultline Derby Devilz 59. We'll be starting soon. It looks like that whistle here just stopped the clock, though the clock had not yet started. That looks like skater from Faultline passing the pivot stripe to the skater in the box. And here's Maiden China. Lead jam for Rat City. Maddy Massacre not far behind. And the pack is going through straightaway number 1 and there, or excuse me, straightaway number 2 rather. And there's the call off. Taking another time out here. It appears that timeout is to correct the time on the scoreboard. It's currently showing, oh boy, it's showing a lot of incorrect information. 30 minutes on the clock. Period 2 jam 23. We're going to have to get that corrected. To show the correct time and jam number. It does appear that the perhaps that last jam was not started on the scoreboard correctly. Those of us in person now seeing the scoreboard be rapidly updated. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the score overlay in the top left and right corners of your screen. Receive updates as well. Requested to provide another happy birthday update. It's a Ponyboi Hurtis. If you see Ponyboi Hurtis, give him a happy birthday. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave a happy birthday Ponyboi Hurtis comments for us. Over 2 minutes into this official timeout. Penalties for each team here. Our highest earners on penalties from Faultline is Lez B Honest with 3. And Sasha Degrader with 3. Both of them on Faultline, tied with 3 penalties each. And our highest penalty earner from Rat City is number 3, Master Bouter. Of course, 7 penalties are needed to foul out, so none of our skaters are near a foul out. Not anybody's game today, but taking a look at the stats, we can see that Rat City has had a much quicker time to initial per jam, which is to say they are quicker at getting that lead jam. Most of their initials were fewer than 20 seconds, whereas Faultline is much further spread out. Rat City has also gotten lead 14 times compared to Faultline's 9. And Rat City's only lost lead eligibility once compared to Faultline's 3. That rolling whistle signals the end of the timeout, bringing us back to the game. Nice dynamic start there from the skaters, skating from the pivot line to the jam line, and there's the whistle. It's Ponyboi almost making it through, receiving a track cut penalty. Means we're in a power jam for Slick Mick. And Slick Mick skates on through, lead jam for Faultline Derby Devilz. Nice catch there from the Rat City blockers. And the no pack call, forcing Faultline to rejoin the pack. And a direction call for number 4-2, Velvet Hammer. That's penalty number 3 for Velvet Hammer. And that allows Slick Mick to get through. Both jammers now back on the track with less than 60 seconds remaining in jam number 2 of the second half. Slick Mick is back working on 2 skaters. That's Why Fly and 2626 Joe. There's the call off there, and it does look like Slick Mick is able to add the full 4, making it a total of 8 points per jam. Taking another official timeout here. It looks like NSO's approaching Rat City's bench from the penalty box. And oh no, it looks like a power start for Faultline. Ruth Bouter Ginsberg in the penalty box. Looks as if that may have been a track cut. Perhaps it wasn't fully served by Ponyboi. So to mitigate that, they're going to put Ruth Ginsberg in the penalty box. Have our jam ref, PH Demon, at the scoreboard. There's the whistle that brings us out of that timeout. Maddy Massacre at the jam line. Maddy Massacre finds an opening, gets to the initial part of the pack, now into turn 1 and then 2. Then on the outside, gets dumped out to the outside and cycled all the way back to turn 1. Velvet Hammer now rejoining their skaters as Maddy Massacre still looking for an opening. Ruth Ginsberg now standing in the penalty box, and Maddy Massacre makes it through. That's lead jam for Faultline. Here comes Ruth Bouter back on the track. Both jammers now approaching the back of the pack. This is going to be trip number 2, the scoring trip for Maddy Massacre, and the initial for Ruth Bouter. Looks like a forearm call on the track for 451 Blaze of Glory. That's 30 seconds in the box for Blaze of Glory. Maddy Massacre on 1 foot on the outside jam and calls it off. But Ruth Bouter is able to add 4 to the scoreboard, making that a net 4 points for Faultline. 26 minutes remaining in the bout. Jam number 4 up next. Jamming for Faultline, number 1313, Naughty Havok. It's the first time we've seen her today up against Maiden China. And Maiden has it, lead jam for Rat City. Naughty Havok takes a tumble, but gets right back up and has made it through their initial. Pair of penalties there. It's a legal contact for 8-1 Ponyo Knees for Rat City, and a direction call for Lez B Honest. And Maiden calls it off. 3-point jam for Rat City. Five-second call. We have Roczilla up against Slick Mick on the jam line. And Roczilla has it. That's another lead jam for Rat City. Slick Mick looking for an opening, trying the inside, but that gets closed up quick by Rat City. Now on the outside, Slick Mick falls to their knees, gets right back up and falls again. And it looks like they may be through, and yes, they are through. There's a little bit of defensive action from Roczilla. Roczilla able to knock Slick Mick down, which gives the blockers from Rat City, Malice and number 3, Master Bouter, enough time to reform. That's going to hold Slick Mick up for just a little bit, but Slick Mick is able to eventually get through. Penalty called on the track. We're now in a power jam for Slick Mick. Roczilla sent to the box for a high block. And 2-2-6 sent to the box for a back block, I believe. That's Terabyte in the penalty box. No, I take that back. It appears to have been a track cut for Terabyte. Slick Mick is now back on the first straightaway. Nice spin move to say in the lane. And that's 4 points on the scoreboard for Faultline. Roczilla is back looking to earn those points. Almost 10 seconds remaining in this jam. Another penalty is called that looks like a direction call. And that's the end of that jam. That direction call assessed to number 110, Lez B Honest of Faultline Derby Devilz. That's penalty number 5 for Lez B Honest. Net 4 points that last jam for Faultline, which is badly needed. 23-point game with 22 minutes remaining, so it's still anyone's game. It's Maiden China who's got lead jam here in jam number 6. But Maddy Massacre is able to make it through. Maiden China gets through the pack, earns the full 4 and calls it off. There's the 5-second call. We're seeing Naughty Havok again up against Stabby Cat. Jammers are shoulder to shoulder, but Naughty Havok is going to take position, pushing through. I believe that's Malice of Rat City before taking a tumble. That's going to give plenty of time for Blaze of Glory to form up a bipod to hold Naughty Havok in place. Good bridging there from Master Bouter of Rat City. And bridging from Ninja. Naughty Havok on the ground again, just shy of the jam line. And here comes the rest of the pack. It looks like it's going to be Stabby Cat. Lead jam for Rat City. Does appear Rat City was assisted due to a penalty called on Faultline's 505 Coreamer. That was a legal position. That has now been resolved as Coreamer has re-entered the track, but not before Stabby Cat is able to make it through for 4 points. There's a star pass there. Now jamming for Faultline, number 110, Lez B Honest, and there's the call-off. Five-second call. It's birthday skater Ponyboi Hurtis up against 916 Slick Mick. Ponyboi is up front, just in front of the pivot line, and I do see an illegal contact call. Let's see who that is for. It looks like a Faultline skater, GoldieKnocks. Ponyboi gets cycled back behind the pivot line, not once but twice. Slick Mick looking for an opening on the outside on turn number 1, and Ponyboi gets lead jam. Ponyboi takes a tumble, rejoins the track, but does not cycle back far enough. There's a track cut penalty. As a birthday present just for you, Ponyboi. That's penalty number 5 for Ponyboi, which means we're in a power jam for Slick Mick. Misconduct call on the track for Ice Rocker. Slick Mick back at the jam line, star in hand, spin move to get through one jammer, half a spin for the other, or one blocker rather, and Slick Mick is through. Hearing the calls from the benches of Jam On as Ponyboi Hurtis, birthday Ponyboi Hurtis, rejoins the track. The pack is now skating through straightaway number 2. And Slick Mick adds the first 4 points of the jam to the scoreboard. And Ponyboi responds in kinds. It's another 4 for both teams, and there's the call-off. Up next, it's Maddy Massacre and Maiden China. Our jammers are shoulder to shoulder as they cross the pivot line, but Maddy Massacre is going to stumble, which gives Maiden China plenty of time to get up ahead and take lead jammer status. Maddy Massacre is through now. Looks like skater 226 of Rat City is serving for a forearm penalty. And the call-off. Ruth Bouter at the jam line with Lez B Honest. Rat City down 2 skaters. Tarot Bite serving for a forearm, and Master Bouter serving for a back block. That advantage is going to help out Faultline as Lez B Honest takes the lead jammer. But Ruth Bouter is through, now working on the scoring pass. Lez B Honest makes it through and calls off the jam before Ruth Bouter can make it to the back of the pack. 4-point jam for Faultline. 15 minutes remaining in the second half. Official review is called on the track by Faultline. As it currently stands, 2 Rat City skaters in the penalty box. As I said, that's Master Bouter for a back block, and Tarot Bites for a forearm. We'll see if that changes. As we await the results of this official review, I'd like to thank Moxie Barbell. Moxie Barbell helps busy people train smarter, eat well, and build habits that actually stick. If you want to get stronger without overhauling your entire life, DM at Moxie Barbell to learn more. It's fitness that fits your lifestyle. Does appear that official review was retained, as we can now see Ruth beater Ginsberg in the penalty box, serving penalty number 3 for a track cut. Power start here for Slick Mick. Slick Mick, one of the higher performing jammers that we've seen today on Faultline. Slick Mick able to quickly gain lead jam status. Apex jump on the inside. And makes it through. 4 points on the scoreboard for Faultline. Thanks to that wonderful Apex jump. It looks like Rat City has learned from that, is now guarding an inside track. So Slick Mick's trying the outs. Momentum has been halted by Blaze of Glory, but Slick Mick does make it through for another 4 points. As an 8-point jam so far. Ruth Bader now back in the penalty box. That was a blow block, so another 30 seconds of power jam for Faultline. 14 minutes remaining in this bout, so this power jam isn't absolutely necessarily vital for Faultline's success, but it sure does help. Looks like blockers from Faultline not doing much to help their jammer out. But Slick Mick is able to make it through with 2 spin moves. And the blockers from Rat City is able to buy enough time for Ruth Beater to make it through and gain position. 12-point jam for Faultline as Slick Mick calls it off. Bringing the absolute difference between these two teams to 18 points. Rat City still leading 129 to Faultline's 111. Not quite the jam that Faultline Derby Devils were looking for, but it sure did help. There's the start of jam number 12. Maddy Massacre up against Maiden China. And it looks like lead jam was assigned to Maiden China. Maiden China now through. And Maddy Massacre now through as well. Maiden China hoping to gain a few points here before Maddy Massacre can catch up. There's the call off. 3 points for Rat City there. About half minutes remaining in the half. Rat City is still leading, and they have all of their timeouts and an official review. Faultline down 1 timeout, still have their official review as it was retained during that last official review that they called. Here's Roczilla up against Naughty Havok. Rockzilla's gained position. And there's a forearm call for Lez B Honest, who was blocking for Faultline Derby Devils. That's penalty number 6 for Lez B Honest. And Rockzilla's made it through. Roczilla now through. That's 4 more points on the scoreboard. And Naughty Havok has star in hand, hoping to make the pass to their pivot. The pivot is Ninja, who's about 20 feet away, unable to take that star from Naughty Havok as Roczilla finds an opening and adds 4 more. Naughty Havok is cycled back to the end of turn number 1 and is running back into that same bipod, trying to figure out how to get past. That's given Roczilla enough time to get through and return to the back of the pack with 20 seconds remaining in this jam. Roczilla does not appear to have any intention of ending this jam soon due to the success that they've had so far. This is a 12-point jam. And it looks like Faultline finally made it through. That's Ninja now holding the star, now jamming for Faultline. And here is the call-off as Roczilla ends the jam. Rat City widening the lead with a 15-point jam. Team timeout called by Faultline Derby Devilz. Thank you again to Sticker Coven. Stickers so good they might be cursed with quality. Support a queer woman-owned business and hex your gear with style through Sticker Coven. Thank you, Sticker Coven. That rolling whistle brings us to the end of that team timeout. Stabby Cat at the jam line with Slick Mick. The 5-second call. They're off. Jammers briefly forming a conga line, but they have now dispersed. Stabby Cat has gained position in front of Slick Mick, but there's Slick Mick's spin move as they get dumped to the outside and cycled back. Stabby Cat now in turn number 1 as Slick Mick is getting to the pivot line. They've now reached the front of pack, and here comes Stabby Cat rubbing their chin. Perhaps they took a blow to the chin there, but they've rubbed some dirt in it and are now focused on scoring points. Rat City looking disappointed as if they cycled back the opposing jammer, and sure enough, there's a track cut call on Slick Mick, putting us in a power start with Maiden China leading the way going into jam number 15. Another official timeout, and I do see Ice Rocker skating to the penalty box. Three skaters total now in the penalty box. Does appear Lez B Honest is serving for an illegal position, and that will be penalty count number 7 for Lez B Honest. Slick Mick, as mentioned earlier, is serving for that cut. Yes, that must have been what had happened. Lez B Honest has been fouled out with Ice Rocker serving in her place. Speaking of penalty, that appears to have been a track cut on Maiden China, so we will have no, I take that back. It's a forearm call on Maiden China, which will result in a jammer inversion as Slick Mick is released from the penalty box. Joe from Rat City just released from the penalty box. I believe that was a illegal position, and now all skaters have been released from the penalty box. That has bought enough time for Slick Mick to gain position ahead of the pack and be assessed lead jammer. Maiden China has made it through now with Slick Mick right behind them. They approach the back of the pack, and there's the call off from Slick Mick. Another penalty there for Faultline's very own Ninja, number 21. Ninja is in the penalty box for an illegal contact call. And Rat City's 4-7, Malice, serving for illegal position. And now the board has been updated. 666 Piercer for Faultline, also serving for illegal contact. Another penalty, Sasha Degrader for a high block, which means there are now two skaters for Faultline on the track. Maddy Massacre, who is our jammer, and Ice Rocker. Maddy Massacre is our jammer of record, which is going to make it difficult to score any points. Seeing that, and to prevent Ponyboi Hurtis from earning any points, there's the call-off. Ruth Ginsberg is next on the jam line for Rat City. And it's Slick Mick from Faultline. 6 minutes remaining in this bout. Rat City still leading 149 to 119. Ruth Beater cycled way back, which is going to give Slick Mick lead jam for Faultline. Here comes Ruth Beater, though. Ruth Beater has been making it a habit of beating the odds in the pack and getting through this bout. Slick Mick, nice spin move on the outside, calls it off. That's at least a few points for Slick Mick, and Ruth Beater looking happy, earning 3 points on that jam. See the point count here for Faultline. That's no points for Faultline. Wow, amazingly done. Nice jamming from Ruth Beater. Able to eke out those 3 points and widen that lead ahead of Faultline. Here's Maiden China up in front. Lead jam for Rat City. Rat City is able to keep this momentum going. Maddy Massacre is on turn number 1, is able to make it through the pack. Did hear a penalty called there. Looks like the Faultline pivot going to the penalty box for a direction call. There's the end of the jam there. 4-point jam for Rat City, and here's the timeout. It's an official timeout. Officials, NSOs from the penalty box now on the track. NSOs, of course, being our non-skating officials. They are our referees who are not in skates, such as those crewing the penalty box and tracking penalties. Four and a half minutes remaining in this bout. Jam number 19 is coming up next. I've just heard from the officials that we've identified more blood on the track. So we're hoping to find out who's bleeding that blood. It appears we've identified the culprit as we've got the 5-second call. Faultline starting 2 skaters down. And Stabby Cat's not going to quite make it through. That was not a legal pass, so Stabby Cat is no longer eligible for lead, which gives Slick Mick a chance. Forearm call there for Sasha Degrader. And here's Slick Mick trying on the outside just in front of the jam line and shy of the pivot line. Stabby Cat is now through, making it an 8-point jam for Stabby, despite the fact that no lead has been declared in this jam so far. Make that a 12-point jam as Stabby is through again. There's our lead jammer now, our jammer of record. Slick Mick is able to get through and immediately calls it off to end Stabby Cat's run. Both teams now down a single jammer as we go, or single skater, as we go into jam number 20. Sasha Degrader serving for a forearm penalty, and that's penalty number 5 for Sasha. And Malice serving for a direction for Rat City. Roczilla jamming for Rat City up against Maddy Massacre, and it's going to be Rocky. Gets lead jam. Maddy Massacre is right behind Roczilla. I suspect we'll get a call-off soon, and there it is. There's the call-off. I don't think anyone earned any points there. I take it back. Rat City earned 1 point before the call-off. Less than 3 minutes remaining in the bout. At the jam line is birthday Ponyboi Hurtis and Slick Mick. And Slick Mick is sent to the penalty box. That's a power jam and lead jam for birthday Ponyboi Hurtis. Ponyboi providing some direction to their team. And they're able to make it through on the inside of turn number 2. Spin move on the second straightaway from Ponyboi, and here comes Slick Mick. Nice catch there from the Rat City blockers. But Slick Mick does make it through. Here's trip number 2 from Slick Mick. And it's a power jam for Slick Mick. We're going to go the remaining 47 seconds in this jam, which will give Slick Mick some time to hopefully make up some points and close this lead. A minute remaining in the bout. Apex jump there. Was it legal? No, it was not. Slick Mick cycles themselves back through the infield and is going to give that pass another try. Slick Mick tries again, this time on the outside, and is slowly cycling themselves back as birthday Ponyboi Hurtis has rejoined their teammates. Ponyboi is through, a few seconds remaining in this jam. There's the whistle. And that might be it if it weren't for Rat City's timeout. Rat City could have taken the win there, but they wanted to bring you one more jam. And that will give them an opportunity to widen this lead and increase their standing in the official WFTDA rankings, which is why they're incentivized to try to widen their lead as much as they can. 15 seconds remaining in this timeout. Jam 22, which is likely to be the final jam of the day. And this jam will be spearheaded by Maiden China and Maddy Massacre. Dynamic start from skaters as they creep back from the pivot line to the jam line. And it's Maddy Massacre on the inside track. Lead jam for Faultline. Maiden China now through as well. Period clock has elapsed, which means as soon as Maddy calls it off, that will end the jam. Maddy Massacre takes a tumble on the second straightaway and gets cycled back, which is enough time for Maiden China to make a not quite fully legal pass, only earning 3 points. And there's the call off. That brings our unofficial score. Rat City at 180 points. And Faultline Derby Devilz at 128. They're able to net 1 point from that last jam. It appears Rat City has it. And there's the final rolling whistle, our final score. Rat City wins it, 180 to 128. But stay tuned. We have game number 4 of the 2025 Cosmo Chaos Tournament coming up next. I'm signing off. My name is Mitch's Get Stitches. Stay tuned for game number 4.